Hi everybody, I'm here today to talk more about hedgehogs. I kind of wanted to elaborate on my ugly truth about hedgehog video. That one was cut short at around 3 minutes, so I wanted to be able to talk a little bit more about that. So let's get started with that. I have Pippin here again with me today. He's always happy to be out and about because he's always just sleeping in his little bin I have over here. Because we are home for the holidays, but he's a very good and social hedgehog, as I've said before, so he's always happy to be out and socializing with other people, so he doesn't mind this whatsoever. But let's get started with my do's and don'ts of having a hedgehog. One of my #1 growing concerns with people getting hedgehogs is the popularity. I'm seeing people, and this was a big problem with my first hedgehog actually. She was jumped around with numerous different owners and she wasn't very sociable, and I felt very bad for her, and people seem to only want to get hedgehogs for the popularity of them and to take pictures of them and put them on social media just to get the likes and the subscribes or the follows and whatever for their hedgehogs and their pictures and just the overall popularity of them. And I think that that is not right for the hedgehog, and it's not very, it's just not right for the hedgehog, and I think they need to be treated a little bit better than that, and I think that the love of the hedgehog should come first before anything else. Like, I'm always making sure that I take care of my hedgehogs before I make any of my videos. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm taking care of all my animals, not just my hedgehog, but my lizard and my fish too, before I'm making any of my videos. I make sure that their cages are cleaned and everything's up and good before I'm taking pictures, posting them online, editing my videos or whatever, because I think that their overall, your little finger, hold on, oh I'm sorry. I think that their overall health and well-being is more important than any of the popularity that comes along with these little guys. Because obviously everybody's like, oh my god, you have a hedgehog, I want to come see them, and everyone is always so interested in him, and I get a lot of attention from him, but it's nothing that I've asked for. But he is a great little guy to have, and I've definitely made a few friends from him, but it's nothing that I've purposefully done. Oh my. Another good tip about hedgehogs is that they are deathly allergic to the essential oil tea tree. The tea tree oil, and I believe eucalyptus as well, if you're super into diffusing oils or using them in your lifestyle. I know my mom is super into that, and we have to be very careful around our house with the different oils that we diffuse around my hedgehogs or any of my animals that might be allergic to that, so that's good to look into the different things that certain animals that you might have are allergic to. Because I do have an essential oil diffuser, and I have to make sure that I have absolutely no tea tree oil or eucalyptus oil within the vicinity of my little Pippin here. Oh buddy. Because I don't want anything to harm him or his health. As I said in my last video, wheels are very beneficial to hedgehogs. It allows them to exercise in the night because they're nocturnal and they'll be running all night long. Do not get the wired wheels that look like this. You do, however, want to get the plastic wheels that look like this. I have the Carolina Storm wheel, as I showed in my second to last video actually, I believe. It might have been my last video. And they're very nice and very quiet. These hard plastic wheels, they're great too. And I actually still use mine back at home in my temporary cage. So I don't have to haul the cages back and forth between my dorm and my home. But yeah, wheels are very important. Do not use the wired wheels that have holes in them because they could get their little feet stuck in them and it could rip their toenails or their foot or break their foot or something bad. But instead use the hard plastic wheels that are much safer for their little feet. Another don't for hedgehogs is make sure you do not keep your room too cold for your little hedgie. These guys are from Africa and they're very used to warm temperatures, and it is very unsafe to keep your room at a very cool temperature, no matter how cold you like to sleep at night. It is very dangerous for these guys to go in the low 60s of a room. Even mid 60s is a little dangerous depending on what kind of hedgehog. what your hedgehog likes, really. I had an old hedgehog and she very much hated the cold, and she always attempted to hibernate. And when a hedgehog attempts to hibernate, especially a domesticated hedgehog, they are not nutritionally balanced enough to do so, and it will end up killing them or severely damaging their health or whatever, and it is very scary and hard to deal with. And I've had to get my last hedgehog out of hibernation multiple times, and it was very scary because the house was way too cold for her, and I had to get her her own heat lamp and heating pads, and I sat in front of a space heater with her for like over an hour just trying to warm her back up, and eventually brought her back. And she would be all wobbly and out of it, and it's just a very scary process that you do not want to go through. So what you do want to do, however, is keep your room at a good mid 70 degree temperature, 72 to 75. If you could go warmer, it's better. I keep a nice, very layered heating pad underneath her cage with lots and lots of layers so it doesn't burn her. But she absolutely, Pippin absolutely loves the heating pad. It's an auto shut off, so it doesn't stay on too long for safety issues, but he absolutely loves when I do turn it on for him, and I do it once in a while. But he's always cuddle up next to it when it's on, and it's not on all the time, so he's not there 100% of the time, so he still gets up and exercises. But they do like warm temperatures because they are an African animal, and they're used to warm climates, and it keeps them from hibernating. Now this is just a personal recommendation, or a personal do or don't fact, but what I would personally recommend that you do not do is use actual hedgehog food that is labeled food for hedgehogs. Usually those kind of foods contain fillers, and they are not necessarily needed for a hedgehog's diet, and is not the best thing a hedgehog could be eating. I had my old hedgehog on Spike's Ultra hedgehog food, and she seemed to be doing okay, but she did pass away of cancer. I don't know if that had anything to do with the food or not, so I'm not going to go and say that that caused her cancer or anything, because hedgehogs are very prone to getting cancer. But I switched over to cat food, which is shown in my last video, or my second to last video, and Pippin loves the food. He's great. He's doing great on it, and he's had absolutely no problems. And I know a lot of people who have hedgehogs, they prefer actual cat food over hedgehog food. It is more nutritious, has more just more nutrition in it, and more things that hedgehogs would be eating rather than the actual hedgehog food, and less fillers. So I would highly recommend getting certain cat foods over hedgehog food. One fact that may be kind of misleading about hedgehogs is that they like to float or be on their back in general. I like to stay away from putting Pippin on his back too often. I only do that whenever it's necessary to move him around in my arms, or if I want to take a quick cute picture or something, or if he is okay with it. But if he shows any discomfort whatsoever, I try and keep that position away if he doesn't like it. Because most hedgehogs don't like being on their back because they're a naturally preyed upon animal, and because they're on their back, they're very open and easily to be preyed upon, and it just shows the sign of weakness. So most hedgehogs are very uncomfortable to be on their back, especially in the water. So when handling a hedgehog, I highly recommend keeping them on their feet so they can move around like they need to, if they need to get away, or if they feel uncomfortable and they want to walk around. But when you put a hedgehog on their back, they tend to be very scared, and they will get angry or just very terrified, and you don't want your hedgehog to be scared of you or mad at you, and you want them to love you. So I highly recommend to keep your hedgehog on all four paws. I've never tried putting Pippin on his back in the sink before, like with a sink full of water. I'm very scared that he'll roll over and get a bunch of water in his face and in his nose and his ears and his eyes, and I don't want that to happen to him, because I think that might scare him or traumatize him, and I'd rather that not happen. So if you don't know if your hedgehog would be okay with that, I wouldn't recommend experimenting, because you don't want to potentially traumatize your poor little hedgie. Another good fact about hedgehogs is that most hedgehogs, they are very well on their own. Males should not be caged together if you have more than one hedgehog, and oh buddy! Males should not be caged together if you have 2 males. You should have 2 separate cages for those, and if you do have females, you should be very cautious if they are caged together, and they should have a very, very big cage if so they have room to stay away from each other if they want to. And they should be monitored very carefully to make sure that they do get along, so there is no fighting involved and no hurting hedgehogs or no wounds or anything, because hedgehogs will fight each other if they are not getting along, and that can be very messy, and it's very good to keep them secluded for the most part. They're very fine on their own. They much prefer it actually, but female hedgehogs can be housed together. I'd highly recommend keeping your males by themselves. So poor little Pippin's gotta be alone. Another thing that I recommend is getting fleece pads for your bedding for your cages. I just go to a fabric store or a craft store and I go and get about a yard of fleece, and they fold it up or they cut it up for me, and I go pay for it and I put it in the cage, and I just get a few of those. They're washable. What are you doing? The fleece pads, they are washable, reusable, a lot cheaper than continuously buying new bedding. I just think it's more economical as well and better for the planet in general. And it's very clean looking. It looks very nice in the cage. You pulled out some of my hair, buddy. But I love the fleece pads, and I find that they seem to be a little bit less smelly. My roommate has told me so too. So far so good with the fleece pads. Another thing that's good is Carefresh. I think it's newspaper maybe, like, it is good. It is good bedding. Don't quote me on it being newspaper, but it's the brand Carefresh that you can find at a pet store, and that's the bedding that you can throw away and replace. That is a good bedding as well. It's good for their feet, and it's not going to mess up with their lungs like wood chip bedding will, or have the potential to. I'm not saying that it will, but I don't recommend wood chip bedding. I know that pine bedding is what you should not be using for any rodents or any animal or whatever. That is very bad for their lungs. Aspen bedding is okay, but again, you don't want that to be splintering their feet or getting in their lungs. So I highly, highly recommend the fleece bedding is number 1. Number 2, Carefresh. That can just get expensive. It's also not as good for the environment, and you have to continuously throw it away and whatever, it's not reusable. But try to veer away from any wood chip bedding. It's not good. It's not as good for your little hedgie. So another thing to think about when you have a hedgehog, and I did this before I moved away to college, is how long you plan on having your hedgehog, as in, are you going to be around long enough to be able to keep a hedgehog? Not, I'm going to buy it and give it away, because that's not the mindset you should be having when you get a hedgehog. Whenever I first got my hedgehog, I knew that the college that I was going to allow me to keep my hedgehog in my dorm, so that's why I knew it was going to be okay for me to get a hedgehog, which is why I got Pippin. But if you go and you're like around my age and it's time for you to go to college and you still have a hedgehog or something and you aren't able to bring him with you, you have to be able to have a backup plan, or you might want to wait a few years before you get your hedgehog, or you move out to a different apartment so you know that you can get one and not be forced to give it away or leave them at home and make your parents take care of them, because they need to be very socialized little guys. So make sure you have your backup plans with where you're living and your hedgehogs, and you know that they can be with you at all times, whether it needs to be you waiting a few years or not. So, and it will be worth it, believe me, I had to wait, so before my parents let me have a hedgehog in the first place, but it was a good wait and it was worth it. I think that's just about all I have here today for my do's and don'ts about hedgehogs. Oh my god, buddy, I'm sorry. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please like, subscribe, and leave comments below. I'm always welcome to having requests for new videos. That's always fun, and I'm always willing to do those. But yeah, thanks for watching.